There's a quiet thought that visits you sometimes, usually late at night, or in the middle of a conversation that suddenly feels heavier than it should. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't demand attention. It just lingers, softly. Maybe I'm just hard to love. Not because someone clearly said it, but because of the pauses, the distance, the way people seem to come close, and then slowly drift away. And over time, something begins to shift. You stop asking why things didn't work out, and start asking something much more personal. What's wrong with me? It's a subtle change, but once it happens, it starts to color everything. Moments feel heavier, silences feel louder, and even small changes in someone's behavior begin to feel like signs. And eventually, that quiet thought doesn't feel like a question anymore. It starts to feel like the truth. Imagine someone sitting on the edge of their bed after a long day. Their phone rests in their hand, screen glowing softly in the dark. They're rereading an old conversation. There's nothing dramatic about it. No argument, no clear ending, just a slow fading. At the beginning, everything felt easy. There was laughter, curiosity, that light, almost unfamiliar feeling of being seen. The kind of connection that makes you relax a little. Like maybe this time, you don't have to try so hard. But then, something shifted. Maybe they started overthinking their replies, typing, deleting, rewriting. Maybe they hesitated before being honest. Or maybe they tried a little too hard to keep things going. And slowly, almost invisibly, the energy changed. The replies took longer. The tone felt different. The effort didn't feel the same. And now, sitting there alone, they replay everything. I shouldn't have said that. I should have been more relaxed. I knew this would happen. And what hurts the most isn't just that it ended. It's how familiar it feels. Like this isn't new. Like it's part of a pattern that keeps repeating itself. So, without even realizing it, they start adjusting. They hold back a little more. They overthink a little more. They try to become easier, quieter, less complicated. They laugh when something actually hurt. Stay quiet when they want to speak. Pretend to be okay when they're not. Not because they're being fake, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that being fully themselves might be too much, or somehow, not enough. And something painful begins to happen. The more they adjust themselves to be loved, the less seen they feel, and the less seen they feel, the more it reinforces the belief. See, people don't really stay. Here's something important to understand. That feeling I'm hard to love usually isn't the truth. It's a pattern your mind learned, and for many people, that pattern started much earlier than they realize. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love felt inconsistent. Sometimes it was there, warm and present. Other times, it felt distant, distracted, conditional. So, your mind adapted. It became alert, careful, protective. You learned to read between the lines, to notice small changes in tone, mood, or attention, and over time, without even realizing it, you began to associate love with uncertainty. That awareness helped you once. It helped you stay connected. It helped you avoid conflict. It helped you feel prepared. But now, in your adult relationships, that same awareness can feel overwhelming because your mind is still trying to protect you. So even when someone genuinely cares about you, you don't fully relax into it. Instead, a quiet layer of fear sits underneath. How long will this last? What if they see something they don't like? What if I mess this up? And those thoughts don't just stay in your mind, they shape your behavior. Sometimes, you hold back, afraid that being fully seen might push someone away. Other times, you overextend, trying to be easy to love by giving more than you receive. And both of these responses come from the same place. A fear that love isn't something you get to keep. So, when something does go wrong, when someone pulls away, or a connection fades, your mind doesn't just see a situation, it turns it into confirmation. See? This is because of me. But here's the deeper truth. You are not hard to love. You were taught to experience love in a complicated way, and there's a difference. Because being hard to love would mean something is wrong with you. But what's actually happening is much more human than that. Your nervous system is trying to protect you, based on what it has learned before. It reacts to what feels familiar, not necessarily what's real in the present moment. So, when someone gets close, you don't just feel connection, you also feel risk. And when something feels risky, you either guard yourself or try to control the outcome, not because you're broken, but because you adapted. There's a quiet shift that can begin to change everything. Not overnight, not all at once, but slowly, gently. It starts when you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and begin asking something more honest. What did I learn about love? Because the truth is, you didn't create this feeling, you learned it. Through moments where connection felt uncertain, through experiences where being yourself didn't always feel safe. And when you begin to see that, something softens. You realize that being sensitive doesn't make you too much. Needing reassurance doesn't make you difficult. Being careful doesn't make you unlovable. It makes you human. And here's something that often gets overlooked. People who feel hard to love are usually the ones who love very deeply. They notice things others miss. They care about connection. They try to understand people in meaningful ways, but somewhere along the way, they stopped offering that same understanding to themselves. Instead, they try to become easier to handle, easier to keep, easier not to leave. But love was never meant to work like that. The goal isn't to become easier to love. It's to feel safe being loved. Because when you feel safe, you don't have to perform. You don't have to shrink, or overcompensate, or constantly question your worth. You can just exist, in the right kind of connection. The kind that is steady, healthy, and real, won't experience that as too much or not enough. They'll experience it as genuine, and maybe. The reason some connections didn't last wasn't because you were hard to love. It's because those connections couldn't meet you where you are. Not everyone has the emotional capacity or awareness to hold space for someone who feels deeply. And that's not your failure. That's a mismatch. Because love isn't supposed to feel like something you have to earn. It's supposed to feel like something you can rest in. So, the next time that thought shows up, maybe I'm just hard to love, pause for a moment. Not to fight it, not to believe it, just to notice it, and gently remind yourself, you're not hard to love. You just haven't always felt safe receiving it, and that's something you can learn. Slowly, quietly, without pressure. Not by changing who you are, but by understanding yourself a little more each day. Because the version of you that feels too much, or not enough, is the same version of you that someone, somewhere, will experience as exactly right. And maybe the truth isn't that love keeps leaving you. Maybe it's that you're still learning what it feels like when it finally stays. And when it does, it won't feel confusing. It won't feel like something you have to hold together. It will feel steady. It will feel safe. And for the first time, it will feel like you don't have to question it.